Hello and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss, the vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for joining us today. Stick around for just a couple of seconds and watch me eat some humble pie.
And we're back.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. We're going to start with housekeeping. We want to thank our moderators today. Our moderators are Jimmy Fast, Man in the Barn, Joel Lewicki, and Brian Eagle.
And Brian Eagle is in the house with... Oh, I know. I'm not sure I can deal with that.
Applause.
Do you have more of those?
Yeah, I have lots.
Oh, great. Okay. Okay.
Today's presentation will be followed by open Q&A.
Okay. So a couple of things before we get started with the presentation. First of all, I feel like I owe all of you an apology for my really bad behavior last Friday night. I was discouraged, but I didn't have to lay that on you and Shelley, honestly. And it was through her effort that, you know, I had a speedy recovery, or I guess recovery is the best way to describe it, and got back to business. So, but I felt like I owed you guys an apology for that. I want you to know that I'm in much better spirits than I was Friday night, and had a whole weekend to clear out the cobwebs, if you will, and moving on. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
I apologize for nothing.
This is going to be a long show. Okay, so let me get this other slide up right here for transition, because we're going to need that in a little while. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's go, guys.
Okay.
So, and I want you to chip in here where you can. Okay.
All right.
So, on our most recent recon to Cimarron, we call it the 2018 Cimarron Recon. We had basically one objective, or two if you want to add them up, and that was kind of to get over the apartment, you know, what do they call it? Cabin fever, but apartment fever, and get out into the field and have some fun, because we always have fun when we get out into the field. And we had a great opportunity. I mean, we did a number of things. We went by the BLM office. We went by the state park office in Cimarron Canyon. We ate at a couple of our favorite restaurants. We stayed at our favorite hotel. We stopped by the Vietnam Veterans Memorial to pay our respects there at Angel Fire. We did a lot of stuff, and so there really is nothing to complain about. The stuff that I did complain about was basically things that I can fix and that I can cure. They are not great challenges, and they are not incurable. So how did you feel about the trip?
I had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And we got outdoors, and it was pretty good weather. There was a little bit of snow on the ground, but not really where we were. So I had a good time. I'd go again.
Yeah, we had a good time. There was no. I did take my fishing rod, my fishing equipment, but there was literally no fishing on the Cimarron. We could have had some on the Rio Grande, I think, but we had other things that we wanted to get accomplished. So I think next weekend I'll probably go back up and do some fishing on the Rio Grande. So our first goal was to recon Clear Creek on the Cimarron. And we got that accomplished. We went as far as we could on the Clear Creek with indications that there was some potential there. But the problem with Clear Creek was that we couldn't align our solution on Clear Creek with the home of Brown. And so we had to resolve that. And I'm going to tell you how we did that in just a couple of seconds. That was a nice area. Tell them about that cross. Don't you remember that cross?
I saw it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't go investigate.
There was a purple cross, and it was you'll see it behind Shelley's right arm there in the beaver dam. And it was a dedication to someone who had passed away.
We went on Easter weekend, so we were up Thursday and came back Friday. So
Yeah.
there were a lot of penitentes and a lot of crosses, a lot of
And we didn't hit any of them.
What do you call those on the side of the road?
So our second objective for this was to get some stock footage. I needed some stock footage for our programming, both here. I don't know what's wrong. Can I have a sip of whatever you're drinking there?
Just a little.
Yeah, just a little.
It's green tea. You know how you're allergic to green tea.
So keep a track on that because they're telling me they're not receiving video data on here. That's what I'm going to refresh it. So the second objective was to collect some stock footage that I needed not only for this programming but for our programming on Video Tarot. I had just upgraded my DJI Osmo. You see it in the back there. DJI Osmo to an Osmo Plus. Got some new features as a result, and it's a really good stabilized camera. And I wanted to get some footage out in these areas with that stabilized camera. I throat this thing. The third goal was we wanted to shoot a metal detecting tutorial. That is a tutorial on how to teach people to learn metal detecting, because Shelley had indicated an interest in learning metal detecting. So I took the opportunity to shoot not only some footage of Shelley. We got to play with the drone. We got to play with the metal detector, and I got to teach. I got to teach Shelley how to metal detect, and I got to shoot a tutorial on how to teach someone to metal detect. So eventually, I'll probably edit it over the next couple of days, and we'll upload that to our videotarot.tv production YouTube channel. Did you have fun?
Well, I was a little tired. I think I was getting over a cold or allergies or something. So I was a little tired.
Did you,
I found
do you
some
feel...
good garbage.
Yeah, you always do. I mean, not you always do. Metal detectors always do. So do you feel like you learned, at least got a good start on metal detecting?
Yeah.
Good. That was kind of the objective.
It was kind of hard in the rocky areas. I think the rocks had a lot of minerals in them, and it was kind of too sensitive for that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's cover some territory here. The first thing that we did, and generally speaking, the first trip of every season involves a stop at the BLM office just south of Santa Fe, on just off of Route 14, where it intersects with I-25. And so we stopped there, and we met this gentleman. His name is Steve Collins, and we talked to him for a little while. He was very familiar with Forrest Fenn and the treasure hunt. He was I don't know that he's a native Santa Fean, but he and his wife had lived there.
No, he was from Minnesota originally.
It? Oh, that's
Remember
interesting.
he talked about the school he went to with the Benedictines?
Oh, that's right, when we talked about St. Mike's.
Yeah.
Anyway, he and his wife had lived there for several years, and during the conversation with him, he informed us that he had all this time maintained a blog, and the blog is entitled Santa Fe Travelers. It's at santafetravelers.com. I highly recommend you go there. But the reason it came out in the midst of our conversation is that Steve said he had interviewed Forrest a couple of times and had written a total of 3 articles about Fenn. Now, I'm not going to give you the addresses. It's easier. You got to do a little bit of your own research here. But if you go to santafetravelers.com, and you can see there's a search window right there. If you go to the search window and you enter Forrest Fenn, what's going to happen is you're going to be presented with 3 articles. The first one was published in July of 2013, the second one in April of 2014, and the third was published in July of 2017. The first 2 are the result of interviews with Forrest. Now, I don't feel like there was anything that I didn't already know. Would you agree?
Yeah.
In the articles, but in addition, it was what I'd call a sympathetic portrait painted of Forrest. It was obvious that Collins and his wife thought well of him. And then they wrote the article in July 2017 titled, Should the Forrest Fenn Treasure Be Called Off? And I'll let you read that for yourself and see what you think about it. Now,
there's some good pictures in them.
Yeah, there are some photographs that I hadn't seen before. So, maybe you guys have seen these articles. I hadn't seen them. They're worth a read. Now, back in October of 2017, he lost his wife, Billy Frank, partner of 45 years. And since then, he hasn't been real active on the blog. And honestly, he was walking with the aid of a cane when we visited with him in the BLM office. He was operating the BLM store where you buy all the maps. And by the way, if you want to see all the photos from this recon, please go to our blog, agypsieskiss.com, and you can see all the photos on the front page of that blog. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to suggest that you go visit the site, that if you decide to comment on any of these articles, you do it in a way that's not argumentative. He's not a searcher per se. He's a writer. They were writers. And I'd appreciate it. I'd appreciate it if you'd make a comment and say something nice. I'd like to see him restart his writing. Like I said, he hasn't done much.
I looked at him and, and thought about it, and I think he looks like Santa Claus. And it could be, he said he was from Minnesota. He might have been further north than that. And where would Santa Claus retire but Santa Fe?
Santa Fe. Oh, you are right.
I know, right?
Anyway, go visit the blog, make a comment, make a positive comment, and recommend to him that he should start writing again. That it's a nice thing to say, and tell him that Shelley and Toby mentioned him. We gave him our business card that we mentioned him in his blog. So that was our kind of first interesting discovery that wasn't related to any of our goals, and it was kind of fun. We spent far too much. We were planning to go in there for 15 minutes, check out the maps. And we ended up staying almost an hour and a half talking with him and asking questions and letting him ask us questions. So we really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun for us. Then we headed up for Cimarron, and before going in deeper into the canyon, we stopped by the state park office. And there we met our second Steve from Minnesota of the day. And his name is Steve Clark. He's a great guy. One of the things that I do whenever I meet someone new when we're on a recon is I start asking them questions. And one of the first questions I ask is, what do you think of when I say the home of Brown? And his first response to that question was, "Oh, you're a Forrest Fenn. You're one of them treasure hunters, aren't you?" But he said it in a very kind way. It was obvious to us that he thought of him positively. He said he got calls from all over the United States from searchers asking him questions after they Googled things on or mapped things on Google Earth. He said recently he got a call from a gentleman do you remember the gentleman's name?
He didn't tell us. He just said he was from Florida.
Oh, he said a gentleman from Florida. And the gentleman from Florida said, at a certain location, it looks like there's a ruin of an old cabin. And Steve said he wasn't aware of that. But he got it after he finished the call. He thought, well, I got to find this out. And he headed up on his ATV and discovered, sure enough, there was an old hunter's cabin that pretty much had fallen into disrepair over the years. But he went up there and found it. So I'd call him sympathetic to our cause. He was a good guy. And he, in a conversation with him, he changed my perception of where warm waters halt. Now, and doggone it, I wish I'd gotten his name. You know who you are. I had been exchanging emails with one of our viewers who started questioning it and had literally written the state game office in New Mexico and had gotten a response. And he shared that response with me the day before we left for Cimarron. And that prompted my conversation with Ranger Clark. So I'm sorry I can't remember your name right now, but I want you to know that you know who you are, and I want you to know that it was your effort that caused me to have this conversation with Ranger Clark. And I'm going to save that part for last because it goes into a lot of detail. And I've got some other things that will take less time to present before we get into that. Okay? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a
Epiphany.
epiphany.
Was
I
an
had an epiphany. Shelley says I had an epiphany. So we had a great time with Ranger Clark. If you ever go back, you know, if you go to Cimarron and you bump into Ranger Steve Clark, tell him Toby and Shelley said hi, and that we mentioned him on our blog. We gave him a business card as well, so maybe he'll eventually see this. So, hi, Steve. Hi, Ranger Clark. He was also from, interestingly, he was also from Minnesota. He had been a police officer in the Twin Cities area. So let me do this. So what happened was we left the office and we pulled out of the office, and there was a parking area, and I was down and out as a result of the conversation. But I felt like we needed to invest our time while we were here checking out our other solutions, our solution for Cimarron Canyon. And as I said, our problem was that we couldn't make our home of Brown work with the rest of the clues. You know, we were searching for it. So we're sitting there discussing all kinds of things. My Warm Waters Halt, you know, epiphany, and what we were going to do while we were in Cimarron. And he drives back. He comes back. He had left when we left, and he comes back and he parks next to us and he rolls down his window. They don't actually do that. Rolls down his window, and he said, "Hey, you guys, I had an idea while I was driving down the road." And he said, "For your home of Brown, have you ever considered the North American brown beaver?" And is that a beaver? Chipmunk. So the North American brown beaver, I said no, we hadn't. That it was a beaver, for God's sakes. You know, I didn't say it like that, but it's a beaver, cute little furry thing. So he talked a little bit about them, and I said, well, part of the problem with them is and he talked about their homes, you know, how they break down logs, move logs, et cetera, to make these homes of theirs and dam up the waters. And they spend a lot of time trying to undam them, and they don't get them all. And I said our problem with it was that we don't imagine that a beaver's den would last very long, that they're very malleable. This is a treasure hunt that Forrest Fenn seems to think will last at least 100, maybe 500, or even 1,000 years. And he said, oh no. Some of the best beaver dens, and apparently dams that I've seen actually will go on forever and ever. We have some dams on this river that have gone back at least 100 years, and that's only because we've only recorded them that much. They could have gone back further than that. So, bit of interesting information that I wasn't aware of, that I hadn't pursued, but I guess I have to consider it in all our work right now. But that was kind of a gift of what do we call it? Open source intelligence from Ranger Steve.
I love it.
Thank you. This is not going to help my throat. I don't know what's going to. I should take some cough medicine or something. So that was the North American brown beaver story. So we spent most of the day in Cimarron Canyon working out our solve in the Cimarron Canyon near Clear Creek, and sure enough, right where it should have been was this beaver den / dam, and it actually fit with the rest of our clues. So we went up as far as we could up Clear Creek, and we were stopped by the 80-year-old rule. We got to a point. So, and by that time we were further away than 500 feet. So we feel like there's potential in that area, but then I had to deal with the Warm Waters Halt, upon which is this is all based in Cimarron Canyon. So what I'm going to do is, so we did that. Let me go back here. So we spent the day in Cimarron. We drove back across the mountains towards Taos, and we spent the night in Taos. We had dinner at Martyrs, which is a great restaurant. If you ever get to Taos, stop by Martyrs and have yourself a good meal. It serves like a 5-star restaurant, but it costs like a 3-star restaurant. So what's that?
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, was that our tinkling? Yes. Nice. Great place to stop for dinner. The best, you can literally, as they're carrying the steaks out to you, you can smell them before you actually set at the table. So they're actually placed on the table. So highly recommended. We also stayed at the Monte Sagrado, El Monte Sagrado, the Holy Mountain Hotel, and it's a pricey hotel. But the reason we stayed there was their rates on weekdays were under $100. So if you're going to be up in that area on a weekday, look at their rates, because it's like I said, it's a 5-star hotel, like Martyrs. It's a 5-star hotel at a 3-star price, and I think that's because they probably had a terrible ski season, and they're trying to make up for it with some really good rates. And the rates were really, really good, and the rooms were really, really nice. So, and then the next morning in Taos, we had breakfast. The next morning in Taos. How many of those do you have?
A billion.
Oh, great. The next morning in Taos, we had breakfast at Michael's, which is a restaurant on the main drag, the Paseo del Norte. And Michael's is our favorite breakfast restaurant. Shelley had her favorite, what is it, veggie omelet? Mm-hmm. Is it veg? It's very good. I usually have just kind of bacon and eggs and toast and coffee, but for some reason, the strawberry banana pecan pancake dish just struck my eye. Not that I need a lot more sugar than I had, but I decided to go with the strawberry banana pecan pancakes, and I'm going to strongly recommend that you only order those pancakes if you're ordering for 4, because it is a big dish of pancakes. I didn't come anywhere near finishing them, nor could I have, because I would have passed out from a sugar overdose at that point. So Martyrs, Monte Sagrado, Michael's, if you ever get to Taos, we highly recommend those locations. So it's just, Taos is a good place to be. I like Taos a lot. It has a very, very good vibe, doesn't it?
A hum, in fact.
A hum, that's right. Okay, so then from there, from Taos, we went to the Oria Verde recreation area, which is run by the BLM. And great fishing in that area, by the way. Great trout fishing, great rafting, great photography. And this is because the BLM allows for metal detecting. Now, they have some strange little rules about it. If you find objects near surface, and near surface, they consider 6 or 8 inches near surface, and they are less than 100 years old, you can keep them. If they are more than 100 years old, you have to turn them in. So BLM is a good place. BLM land is a great place to do metal detecting, and they allow drones. So that's what makes BLM land so good for us. We stopped by the visitor center, and we met Riley. Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell him about Riley? Yeah, it is kind of Riley there.
Well, Riley.
You know, while you're telling him about Riley, I got to go get a water bottle or something.
All right. We walked in, and Riley was there dressed in his ranger outfit with his dog, keeping the counter stocked. And he was, I don't know, he had kind of a frowny face when we went in and talked to him. And we told him, we asked him about the treasure hunt like Toby does. And he wasn't very happy. He's kind of harping on how people had died doing it, and he didn't believe the treasure was out there. He thought it was a hoax. But he was from southern New Mexico, and he had actually seen some treasures that he had found, some along trails, some Indian artifacts. He had friends of his family who had found silver and other valuable things out while hiking, so he knew it was possible. But he didn't really believe in the Forrest Fenn treasure until we talked with him a lot about, how people had actually done some dumb things in order to die, and Darwin Awards kind of thing. And then we got to talking about YouTube channels, and he wanted to start his own YouTube channel about tiny homes, because he has a tiny home.
Right on the river there, just below Pilar. You can actually go by it if you. I'm sorry. Let me just tell this part so I don't forget. If you head off of the road to Taos down into the Orilla Verde, as you make the turn towards the BLM property, there's on the on the left-hand side as you're going down, there's a small piece of property. It has a tiny house and it has a teepee. And I think that's his tiny house because I remember seeing it before.
So once we get started talking about that, I think he warmed up quite a bit. And we told him to come and visit our chat and to let everybody know where he was at on YouTube. And he hasn't quite started it yet, but we told him to get started and not wait.
So I think by the time he left, one of the things was that he referred to as Fen treasure hunters as the equivalent of crazy people. And I wanted to ask him, do we look crazy to you? And then I thought, well, maybe I better not. we might look at crazy to him. Do me a favor and hand me that New Mexico Fishing Waters guide, please. Okay. So let me, I'm going to need this here in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that was basically our recon. As you can tell, or I hope you can tell, we had a lot of fun. We had a great time. I got to see a lot of things. You know, it was a good trip for us because we got to do all the things that we wanted to. And then there was this conversation with Ranger Steve, and again, the conversation was prompted by one of our viewers. I think his name is Kinsall on here. And Kinsall, if I don't have that right, just please tell me, because I think you should get credit where credit is due. And it was Kinsall that stimulated this conversation with Ranger Steve. So I'm going to have to change. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to change this, and then I'm going to change our view so we're smaller on the map so you guys can see everything. Huh? How cool is that? I'll go back full screen here. Okay. So I'm going to read some stuff to you, and you guys, most of you, I would say, probably know me well enough to know about how I feel about the New Mexico Fishing Waters Guide. By the way, they've published the 2018-2019 guide. It always comes out in March. So the basis for my research on the solutions was based on this booklet and some things that it said in this booklet. And what it says on page 23 this year, it says, warm waters include all streams, lakes, and ponds, except those designated as trout waters. And my mistake was that I interpreted the phrase trout waters incorrectly. I interpreted the phrase as special trout waters instead of trout waters. And the reason is, if I had gone to look at this map, the one that you see in front of you right now, I would have known better, but I didn't. Now, I started that, I said 5 years, but it was probably 2 years ago, maybe a little bit earlier, that I started writing about this particular kind of solution. My mistake was using special trout waters instead of trout waters. And how trout waters are defined, as you can see on the map that I have there, is this area in pink that's shaped like a udder, I guess. Do you have a cow?
I do. I have to find it, though.
Okay.
Oh, here it is.
It's that area in pink that you see on the map. Those are trout waters. Now, you can also see on that map, if you get the book, there's areas in there that inside the pink area that are warm waters. And the warm waters are represented by the white area, okay? Now, if you study this long enough, you'll find out that there are at least 5 locations on this map in which warm waters and trout waters meet, because that's the correct definition. It's the trout waters, not the warm waters. So there are at least 5 locations where warm waters and trout waters meet. One is on the San Juan, one is on the Rio Grande, one is on the Pecos, one is on the Cimarron, and one is on the Canadian. These are all these are the 5 major rivers in New Mexico. Now, there are streams in and out of there, and they have some potential. But the streams suffer the same exact problem that these 5 major rivers do. And that is their waters flow out downstream of the trout waters and into the warm waters. So it's not possible, according to the definitions in the poem, for you to go to where warm waters halt and take the canyon down. In each case, in each of these 5 cases, you would go to where warm waters halt and you would end up taking the canyon up, except one. And that one is right here at the Rio Chama. And the difference is that the warm waters, the white space right here, are inside the trout waters and translate or transition into trout waters. That's the only, here's the weird part, that's the only place in New Mexico where warm waters transition or stop and you can take the canyon down. You're too much. I don't know how you do these things, but you make me happy. How's that? It makes me happy. So anyway, the point I wanted to make is, my first batch of humble pie that I'm eating today is that the definition of where warm waters halt, for example, on the Cimarron Canyon, is incorrect. There is, warm waters do not halt on, do you have the one about the apology? I like the one about the bill.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to do that again? You want to do it again?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I'm going to apologize.
It's on a different one. Oh,
okay.
You're going to apologize?
All right, never mind that. The humble pie that I'm eating here is that my definition, the definition that I've written about, several blog posts that I've made videos about, is incorrect. There are no warm waters that halt on the Cimarron River at the Tolby Campground, because those are not warm waters halting at special trout waters. Those are trout waters halting at special trout waters. So my definition was completely wrong. All the blog posts that I've written about it and the videos that I've made about it were incorrect. Thank you, Ranger Clark, and thank you, my friend viewer whose name I can't remember. Scusi. Okay? So anyway, as I said, there are those 5 areas in New Mexico in which warm waters transition into trout waters, but they are canyon up, so they don't work for me. Here's my second piece of humble pie. The only place that works out for us in terms of where warm waters halt and transition into a canyon down is on the Rio Chama below El Vado Lake. That's my second piece of humble pie, because several months ago I made a video saying that you're not going to find the treasure west of the Rio Grande. Well, turns out that this location is west of the Rio Grande. Here's what's even more interesting for me. That area happens to be around another mapped area, and this is a BLM map that you can download. Just look for Rio Chama's Wilderness Study Area, or WSA. I am very sorry for my voice today, guys. I don't know what's the matter.
Awkward.
So just watch my cursor while I'm doing this. So here's El Vado. This is the Cimarron River, and as you can see, this orange part here represents the Jicarilla Apache Nation tribal lands. I don't believe that, as we've said in the past, we don't believe that the treasure is on tribal lands. The blue and different colors of blue here and gray represent state lands, either state park lands or state game and fish lands. Now, the state game and fish lands are really, they're very restrictive. They're like park lands. State park lands in New Mexico aren't quite as restrictive as national park lands. So there is a possibility that it could have been right in this area here. But what really intrigued me on the Chama was this area in yellow right here and this little thingy right there. And the reason is those are BLM lands, and you can get to them, right? You can get to those BLM lands. And here's, I took a map. Let me go back for just a second. So this ridge right here, you can see, that's on the Jicarilla Apache tribal lands. That is that ridge right there, the one at 7,000 feet, okay? This is an outline of the land that I described as belonging to the BLM. Now there's a little hook over here that I haven't quite figured out how it fits, but it doesn't make any difference because it's not there. So you can get to this land right there. And it would be interesting to hide the treasure there because you're not on National Park land, National Park Service system land. You're not on tribal land. You're not on state land. You're on BLM land, which doesn't have all those other restrictions. I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you what's important about this little. What's important is I'm on that hook right there, and we're in those BLM lands right there. Okay. So we're going to go back. Those are the BLM lands. Now, your first reaction is, how do I get down the Chama River? Well, if you were to walk down the Chama River along this route, you would be on state park lands. You would not be on the Apache Indian, the Jicarilla Apache Indian Reservation. You could walk down that distance. It's about 2.5 miles as the crow flies. So walking along the river is going to be even more difficult. But there's an interesting proposition here.
We can't see what you're pointing at.
Oh. So what I'm pointing at is this, if I go all the way back up here.
The top of the Chama.
The top of the Chama onto this land, it's about 2.5 miles as the crow flies. So it's even longer as you walk. The interesting part of it is that, I've got to tell you something. Let me tell you what happened to me. So there was another theory that we were proposing, and I'll tell you when I was proposing it. And the other theory was that you had two choices. You can get to that location along that part of the river right in here, and there's our Jicarilla Apache Reservation Ridge right there, and the mountains right here. You can get to that location by following this red line down the river, which is a long walk. Or you can follow it by driving directly there via Route 112 and getting off at a couple of points and taking forest roads to the same location. That's possible. The reason I know it's possible is because back in 2013, I took that route. I followed that route. I ignored the route that the clues took me, and I drove to the same location. Let me show you a picture from that. I need to change my slide presentation. Oops.
Random swap.
So let me just go back to this because I want to show you something. Oops. So this is a photograph on the top of that ridge looking down onto the Chama that I took in 2013 when I was there. I didn't walk there. I drove there. And it was because I had resolved all the clues and realized that the walk would simply take too long, so I looked for alternative ways to get there, and I found the Route 112 or 212 that crosses the dam, and then forest roads that went across both forest land. You can take the Jicarilla Apache Road if it's open, because it's technically a forest road, but you're safer by going down a little bit further to the forest roads, and you can take a forest road there. I was there in 2013, and I made the mistake of going down to the river instead of not searching to what would be my north at this point. I should have headed down that ridge north. That's where the treasure could have been. Now, the reason I think it's there is because there's a creek down there. On the opposite side of the river, at just above this point, is the Nutrias. Nutrias is Spanish for otters. And
Oh, no Spanish going on. Spanish otters.
Spanish otters. Just below me and over my left shoulder, as you look past my shoulders and down below into that valley, there's another creek that dries up. It leads into the Chama, but it's a no paddle up your creek. So I had to go back to 2013 to realize that I had actually worked this all out once before using the correct definition of where warm waters halt in New Mexico, and finding that single instance of where warm waters halt and the canyon goes down in New Mexico. I worked it back in 2013. You can tell I was about 20 pounds lighter back then. So I'm going to share with you my working theory at that point. You don't have to agree with it, but I'm going to share it with you anyway, because this is kind of another piece of humble pie, because I was working on a theory that may not have validity in 2017. And here's the theory. My theory back in 2013 was Forrest Fenn did not follow the clues in the poem when he hid the treasure. It didn't make sense to me that he would have done that. He could have easily just driven to this location, walked less than 500 feet. By the way, the 500 feet rule is not people driving along a road, more humble pie. The 500-foot rule is not people driving along a road. The 500-foot rule is people rafting down a river, which qualifies if lots of people have been within 500 feet of the treasure. So now, since then, in 2017, and I think, was it Mysterious Writings, do you remember?
Yeah.
Forrest said, just so there's some clarification, I followed the clues to hide the treasure. It bothers me that he said that in 2017. It bothers me because that's the last thing he would have said. And he said it 7 years after he hid the treasure. I wonder why he didn't say that before. And maybe he did. And I suppose you guys could find some of that. But it makes me wonder. And it makes me wonder if back in 2013, after posting all those photos, I have never written Fenn with any of my solutions, ever. But I do post a lot on my blog. I posted those photos, and you can go back and see them from the Raton Recon, the Rio Chama Recon back in 2013. So he could have seen that and said to himself, hey, that Toby was within 200 feet of the treasure. So we don't know, do we? Anyway, so that's my dose of humble pie for this week. I was wrong about where warm waters halt, but there is one location in New Mexico where warm waters do halt, and you can take the canyon down. I have to go look at the solution again. I don't have a choice at this point. And the reason is I had it once. I worked it out once. I was there, and who knows, maybe I was there. And then and that puts me west of the Rio Grande. So that's the second piece of humble pie I have to eat, because I said there are no Rocky Mountains west of the Rio Grande. Now, I've got to really look at that, because I'm not quite sure. There are Rockies west of the Rio Grande, but a good argument could be made for it. And I'm willing David Rice or Desert File would easily make that argument. So anyway, that's where we were. That was our trip. We had a good time. And we got all the stuff done that we needed to get done. Okay. You ready for chat?
Mm-hmm.
So don't forget, on Super Chat, I'm going to switch over to the full screen. We're going to go to live chat right now. And please, if you would like to highlight your chat, use the Super Chat button down at the bottom of the screen. Do you have a cash register? That would be good.
Well, that's what I have. Coin.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to take us out of this screen, And I'm going to go back to full screen. Transition into
Oh,
that.
here we go.
There you go.
There it
See? Live chat. I mean, super chat.
Super chat.
And transition to the outro. Okay. So let me get you to your chat window here. And I'm going to go back up to the top. Oops. Where is it? Wow. A lot of chat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's top chat. Let me see what happens if I do live chat. I'm going to hate myself if I do this and it doesn't come up. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I did lose it. And now
Yeah.
I'm going to lose it on there. So you're going to have to go back to yours. It doesn't, once you do this,
What?
I don't know why it does that. You can pop it out.
That's still top
Wait.
chat.
You're going to have to just leave it. Don't pop it out. Because I'm afraid if you pop it out, you're going to lose it. Chat is really weird. You're going to lose the top of it, and I don't want you to lose the top of it.
All righty.
Okay, so handle that. Let me see what happened on here.
All right. I'm going to say hello to the people who are here. Joel Lewicki, Eric Schmidt, Man in the Barn, Jimmy Fast, Sea Monkification, Brian Eagle. Where's Bobby? Good afternoon. David Dow, Chris Johnson, hello. Dr. Brown, Sean N.M. of The Flip Side.
And Sean will be joining us on our panel Wednesday night as one of the panel members.
Mm-hmm. An Average Person, Thomas Dye, hi from Southern Alabama. Jared Atchley, Virgil Kane, Cindy Guess, John Polasic, and let's see, Steve Gaghagen, James Cruz, Sledneck, Crow Dudley from Southern Indiana, Lori James from Chaffee County, Mary Green, Betsy Watches, Betsy, hello, John Polasic, I said, Asset Marketing, Jeep Girl Jody.
Hey, Jody, how are you doing?
Dagmar did it. See, Sledneck, no, we're not doing tequila shots. We're both actually getting over colds and allergies and stuff. Any trip is eventful. That's right. Belva Jenkins, hello from Chattanooga, Tennessee. BJ Chambly, Edward Owen from Boise, Joe Sheeran, William Ortiz, Odious Soul, made a live show. So excited. Been waiting to hear what had Toby upset.
Okay, so it was upset for about a day and a half. So,
Illinois Ghost.
hey, Illinois Ghost, that's Richard McDonald. Richard is going to be our guest on Wednesday night's panel. So we're looking forward to that. He's made over 100 recons and has maintains a blog. And we're going to talk all about that on Wednesday evening. So please join us for that.
That's right, tomorrow night. Let's see, Jeremy Milstead from the South, Rick Plank from Cincinnati, Dan Rudy, howdy. Cal Lazars is here.
Hey, Mike Cowling is joining us today, and he too will be on our panel Wednesday night. So he'll be one of the panel members. Cal Lazars. Or oh, you're going to be hard to live with for the next.
Cal Lazars, get it? Cal.
Cal Lazars.
Woo, yeah. Okay, Buddy Allen, hey. Jamie Rodriguez, Kinsall.
Okay, Kinsall, if you're the person with whom I exchanged those emails that gave me this lead regarding warm waters, please make your let it be known. Say something in the comments.
Let it be known.
Yeah, because I owe you a debt of thanks.
Ramses One from the UK, and Adam Foddy, also from the UK. Kyle Lambert.
Brian Eagle, our newest moderator. Hey, Brian, thanks for joining us today.
That's right. Jason Dent, glad to see you. To check out the replay, he had to go to a meeting, so he's just checking in. Samuel Smith,
Yay for Minnesota.
Graysville Mountain, Tennessee. Charles Chapman from Force Ben's Treasures Galore. I don't know what that is, but is that a blog?
Is it a blog or, well, it's a YouTube channel. He'd have to
Oh,
have a YouTube
okay.
channel.
And that's why we all love Shelley. Thank you. Sledneck. Let's see.
Hot coffee and tequila. That's my nice combination.
Heavy snow is falling outside the window in Minnesota right now, says Betsy Watches.
Yeah, we met 2 people from Minnesota this last week.
Chuck Denny, hello from North Carolina. Steve, another Steve. Steve Smitherman, hello. Buddy Allen, Shelley spreading cheer. That's right.
Nice outfit, Shelley and Pick.
Oh,
You know why? I ask her to buy high visibility stuff so when I'm shooting with the drone.
it's my retro 80s jacket.
Yeah, when I'm shooting with the drone, I can see her because it's hard once she's up in the mountains.
Well, Virgil Kane loves the sound effects. Thank you. Hot coffee and tequila. 149 watching, says Cindy Guess. BJ Chambly, my first solve had a beaver den in Yellowstone. Eric Schmidt says, remember to thumbs up on this video.
Thank you, Eric.
David Paisano. Beaver, now that is a big tail.
I'll tell you, I used to do, I still do a lot of fishing, but at sunset, you'll be fishing, out in the middle of the stream and your waders and fly fishing and everything is real quiet. And all of a sudden from behind you, one of those beavers will slap his tail on the water. And man, it makes me, it's like hearing a rifle shot. And it'll make you jump 3 feet in, I was going to say in the air, but I guess it's the
What
water.
does?
What?
What's making you jump?
Rifle shot.
Oh, I had a rifle here somewhere. Sorry.
Or,
That's the jumping part.
oh,
All right. Lori James says, Michael's has the best green chili in New Mexico. Hot. Chuck Denny says,
you know what's so hot, Lori? I can't eat it. I can't. There's a part of me that wants to get it on everything, and I just can't. It just...
Oh, and we have $10. Oh, sorry, that was the elevator. $10 from Slava Olchevsky.
Does he have a question?
Slava says, Toby mentioned that 8.25 miles north of Santa Fe as a starting line for all searchers could be false, joke, not fins. Can you give us your thoughts?
Okay, so I'll give you the summary thought, the shorthand, and that is the 8.25 miles is based upon an article that was written on Richard Sonier's blog way back in either 2000. It was early. It was in the 2010-2012 range, and we're going to do an analysis of that article, and we'll cover it then. Needless to say, well, we'll cover it then.
Yeah.
It really deserves its own program, and it's on the list. I don't know how many programs we are out right now.
But suffice
but-
it to say, if you go back and look at that entry, you may question it as well.
Yeah.
So, AGK from Chuck Denny. I was convinced White Rock, New Mexico was the place. Beautiful waterfall down in the canyon. Flew twice to Albuquerque and drove up to Taos. It was hot.
Yeah. It was the temperatures were great this weekend.
Steve Gaghagen. I felt disappointed in my boots on the ground the weekend before last only because I didn't come home with the treasure chest. Otherwise, the trip I felt was a complete success from all the info and experience we gained.
That's kind of how we feel about it. We met some great people. We learned some new things. We had an epiphany. We had an epiphany, and so it was a good trip for us. You know what? For as many, I think this is my 25th. I'm thinking 25th or 27th. I'm gonna have to go back. I think it's my 25th, and I've never had a bad one. I haven't found the treasure, but
You haven't died yet.
But I haven't died. I've come back each time.
That's right.
And
You haven't broken any
and the
legs
last
or arms?
6 or 7 now, I've had a great partner, and not only a great partner in Shelley, but a great partner in Shelley, great partners in Shelley and her husband, and that really puts a
And
different
his
light.
son, Jason.
And Jason, and
He did
that,
go in the river for you.
yeah, he did. And that makes everything just that much more fun, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure we'll ever find the treasure, but we'll have a hell of a lot of fun trying. Oh, who's that?
Cross.
Hey, Bill. Thank you very much. You are so kind and so consistent. We really appreciate it.
And he says, is the new option anywhere close to the Christ in the Desert Monastery?
It is upriver. The new solution is far upriver from the Christ in the Desert Monastery. Beautiful place to see, but getting from where you can park at the monastery and going upriver is really difficult because of the property lines and just because it's tough territory, and it's not connected. I mean, you might be able to make it connected, but it's upriver from this location, and it's pretty significant. I mean, basically, when people put in at Cooper's Ranch to raft downriver, one of the places they take out the next day is at Christ in the Desert Monastery. So, beautiful monastery, though.
Laura James says, Oria on the Rio Grande?
Yes, yeah, right about Pilar. It's like I said, BLM property. I have spent, I don't know, a very good part of my life there because my father used to take me there when I was growing up. I'm not even sure it was a national property at that point. But for me, it's one of my favorite places to trout fish. For a little while, it was one of our locations for the treasure until Forrest said it's not in the Rio Grande. So I've spent a lot of time there, and it's a beautiful area, and it's close. I mean, it's really close if you live in Santa Fe, which is how I remember it. It's another hour if you live in Albuquerque, but for me, it's always been worth the drive. I can always catch fish on that part of the river any time of the year and at any location.
It's usually breezy, though, so.
Yeah, there's always a wind coming down the canyon.
Yeah.
Makes great drone footage, though.
Chris Bischoff.
Oh, and by the way, this Mavic Air drone in a wind is as stable as a tripod. I can't describe it. If you go over to our production channel, Video Tarot TV, I shot a 30-second stability test at Tigway Park in Albuquerque, and I uploaded it because drone guys are like that. They want to see that stuff. But if you look at that video, it's just the winds were 13 to 15 knots with gusts to 17, and it's stable as a rock. It's amazing. Is that a drone horn? What is that?
I don't know.
Oh.
So Chris Bischoff says, bought one of your You'll Find Me in the Mountains North of Santa Fe shirts
thank you.
from Zazzle, and I love it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Chris.
If you're interested in purchasing from Zazzle,
Zazzle.com/A Gypsy's Kiss.
Beaver Dam makes me think of the story about John Coulter escaping the chasing Indians.
Okay. Chuck, we believe that it has not been found already because we think that if it had been found, an announcement would have been made by someone.
Paul Ammon says, when Forrest Fenn said something like, I believe it will be found this summer, he had a gut feeling it would be found this summer. Well,
Yeah.
He could have said spring, fall, or even when the snow melts, but he said summer. So in my opinion, that's a good hint.
Or he knows something that we don't. Mary Green, AGK, wonder if there is a warning sign at home of Brown. Don't go farther if you are meek or timid. Here's what's really funny, Mary, that Rio Chama solution, there is a home of Brown, and there is a no place for the meek right there. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's probably the easiest solution to the first 5 clues that you can find. Literally. Warm Waters Halt, Canyon Down, put in below the home of Brown, and no place for the meek.
So Kinsall says,
Yes, sir.
he says, yes, sir. He's the guy.
Oh, Kinsall, thank you very much. I appreciated the not only your emails, but the fact that you went through all the trouble to write the State Game and Fish Department. I was even more surprised at their response. It was a great response. It was very clear, and it was what led me to have the conversation with Ranger Steve. So thank you for that. If we ever run into each other, I owe you at least a beer.
And Joey Perro says hi.
Hey, Joey. So we finalized our plans. I finalized my plans for the trip out east. I will be in or in New York on Saturday, I think it's the 20th.
Sorry, I was reading something funny.
Okay. Saturday the 20th. I've got to get up to Yonkers to see my grandniece, but maybe if I get, my nephew's going to pick me up at the train station. But if he brings me back early enough, maybe we can get together for a cup of coffee. I'll let you know as it gets closer.
Oh, and the funny thing was, Raz Productions. I wonder if Fen is watching and thinking there's no hope for this species, that they can't just read a poem and find the treasure.
Yeah, we feel like people ask us all the time, does Fen watch your videos? We don't think so, because I think if he watched our videos, he would find me and shoot me, just because I can make him crazy with this stuff.
All right. Have we gotten to this part yet?
Mary Green. No. I don't think so. We're further down.
Oh. I thought we were there.
I'm trying to look. You keep looking at the...
William Ortiz is back.
Did he leave?
I don't know. Charles Chapman. Only 3 of the 5 are north of Santa Fe. Oh, I was working on what you were saying. Kelly H.H. If trout waters are upstream of warm waters, wouldn't that be where warm waters start, not halt?
Exactly. On the 5 locations that we showed you on that map, those are all canyon up. Warm waters halt on the trout at the demarcation of the trout waters. That's true. The warm waters are outside that pink area. Where's my book? What do I do with
What
my
book?
book?
Oh, the fishing book? I don't know.
No.
You had it. Did you walk away with
I
it?
walked away with it.
Probably in the
So the warm waters are outside the pink area. The trout waters are inside the pink area, except, I wish that map was, I don't want to go back to the map because I'm going to have to go back to, except that one area inside the trout waters that are warm waters. At that point, they go down. They go down into the canyon. In the other places, they go canyon up.
Dr. Brown says hotels are now booked up near the Chama. We'll see you all there at the end of April.
Yeah. We're going up at
The end of April. Yeah.
Before you guys head out east? Or
Yeah,
before
right
you-
before he's going to take vacation.
So,
Kevin's going to go
we've
with
got
us
to.
to take
So
vacation.
the problem with all of this is that that I've got to go back. I don't have a choice now. I mean, I've got to go back and at least find out whether or not that solution requires more pursuit. And the other thing is those forest roads could still be closed. We, as we were crossing on 68 from Taos over to Angel Fire, there was a couple of forest roads that we wanted to explore there, but they were all still closed. So April will be a good time to go back to that area.
Sean N.M. says, your warm waters halt overlaps with the wild and scenic rivers that are there in the Chama Canyon just below Elvado Dam Lake.
Right. So what you have to do is you have to get the map that takes you, that shows you exactly where. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to be driving up to Santa Fe on Wednesday, and I'm going to go to the State Game and Fish Department, and they have a big version of that map with the pink on it. And I'm going to get the detailed version and start taking some geographic coordinate readings to get it exactly. But what's important to me is those BLM lands below that area. That's I don't think you want to look for the treasure in the WSA. I don't think it's there. I don't think it's on the State Game and Fish Department property. I think it's on that BLM land.
Hank Greenberg.
No,
is-
you know what? I'm hypothesizing. I'm hypothesizing that. So tell me when you get to Mary Green @Slava.
I haven't got there yet.
Okay.
Hank Greenberg, though, says, is this trout waters map in the 2017 fishing guide, or 2018 is what we were showing you, the same as the trout waters map in the 2010 fishing guide?
Yes. We've already checked that out.
Joey Perro says, we've all had to eat crow at some point. If someone says they never have, they're fibbing.
Yeah, well, I seem to have done a lot of it recently, so it's starting to impact my ego.
Scusi.
Excuse.
All right.
Oh, wait, did you say William Ortiz was back?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's William Ortiz is back, right here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So let's see.
I thought we got
There's the
there.
hotels are not booked. The
Oh.
Shelley is a card. There
Yeah.
must be a huge significance from Mr. Fenn using
Yep.
capital B versus lowercase and includes. Yeah, Slava, we agree.
And that's the one I just read. From
Okay,
Hank
so solve seems too complicated.
and
No,
Joey. I read Joey.
Betsy, it's actually just in line with the poem, you know? Flip side.
Would a specialized map that was difficult for a smart guy like Toby to interpret be considered specialized knowledge?
Yes, but we've had that conversation before. So the specialized knowledge conversation. We think that although specialized knowledge is not required, we don't think that means that specialized knowledge should not be acquired. There are those that, if you look at the poem and you interpret it with a map, I think that's a fair thing to do. I'm not smart enough to be able to do it. I haven't been able to find anything without doing additional research. So, and in the process, I've acquired a lot of specialized knowledge that I didn't have prior to starting this adventure.
And let's see. Matt. Hi, Matt. How much did Shelley plan for her sounds? I worked on it all morning.
Yeah. And it was a surprise the first time she did it.
Yeah, I was just having fun. I wanted to, because I'm going to be the producer of the panel show, I wanted to have something fun and exciting to do.
Yeah, Shelley's going to be producing our show on Wednesday night, and Brian will be acting as one of the moderators. So,
Yeah.
okay, there's so no cursor. So you guys weren't seeing our cursor when you were showing
Sometimes
the
they
maps?
weren't, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was probably
And that's what Kevin texted about, too.
moving it too fast.
JC wants to know, was the Veterans Memorial a solve, part of a solve, or did you just visit to honor the veterans?
The latter. I visit every time we go by.
We took pictures.
Just so I can visit. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and so it has its place in kind of the pantheon of my memory. So, and I know how much effort the gentleman went through to get it
It's the pantheon
constructed.
of your memory.
Pantheon of memories. The pantheon. So the latter, it's not included in any of our solutions.
Justin Heberl, why is that place important enough for us to bury his treasure there? Ah, good question.
Why is that place
I think
important
it
enough?
is the Chama area.
Oh,
Because I wonder that too.
I don't know, but I don't know enough about how Fenn defines a special place to know any place is important, what any place is. I mean, if he hid it in Yellowstone and he hid it in the Ojo Caliente, or he hid it along the Madison, I guess you could say, well, those areas are special to him. I don't know what makes this area special to him any more than I know what makes the Cimarron, the Rio Costilla, the Cabresto, all the other creeks in northern New Mexico that it could have been, where he could have hidden it. So I don't know, because I don't know what he finds special.
Kinsall says, maybe I should not have. I never should have said anything, huh?
Oh, Kinsall,
we appreciate you sharing your
We're
ideas.
glad that you did.
Yeah. And sea monkeyfication. Is this Chama area accessible for more than several people to be within 500 feet?
Yeah, what I was saying is that if you look at the potential area for where he could have hidden the treasure up there, it would be within 500 feet of the Chama River. And the Chama River is one of the top amateur rafting rivers in New Mexico. It carries a high population of river rafters of all ages because for most of the year, the spring runoff is difficult, but for most of the year, it's relatively, it's class 2, maybe 2.5 or 3 rapids. Now, during runoff, they get higher and you'll get some better kayakers and rafters in there. But literally, if you've ever been to that area, to the Cooper's Ranch, and you happen to be on one of those summer days where the water's running, at class 2 rapids, all families of all types are getting into rafts and going downstream. All of them would have passed if they went around that turn within 500 feet, could have passed within 500 feet of the treasure. Guys, I'm sorry the pointer didn't show for you. I didn't realize. I thought if I put the pointer over the slides that it would. So I apologize for that. I'll find a better solution the next time I do that. School. Sure doing a lot of apologizing today, huh?
Oh, these are super chats?
Okay, wait a minute. Let me go back up.
Sometimes when you go past the super chat, they pop. Okay, there we are. Toby the pointer.
Okay, sorry.
Are there some nice omegas on that topo map? Joey Perro wants to know.
Joey, I don't know. I haven't seen any nice omegas. There might be some in the features in the landscape, but I don't actually look for that. Charles Chapman. Oh, there's some nice omegas.
Road 212, boiling water.
Nice. Dr. Brown. Hey, Toby, not going to spill all the beans. No, we're not going to spill all the beans. No pointer. Oh, I'm sorry. Roadrunner, I'm sorry. I wish I had... Ooh, Road 212, boiling water.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Matt, AGK, do we know why Fenn doesn't like you? You know what, Matt? I probably shouldn't say that. I don't know that Forrest doesn't like me. I've been in his presence a number of times, and I get the sense that he's an acquaintance. I know he doesn't respond to my emails, so no, I shouldn't say that he doesn't like me. I say that as a joke most of the time. I don't know that he does or doesn't like me. How's that? I do know he doesn't answer my emails of any kind. Is it Scooby-Doo?
Yes, I think so.
Spanish otters. Didn't Herb Alpert do that? Yes, he did. Eric Studley, HEK, how do you reconcile the fact that knowing anything about specialized trout waters or state-defined warm waters would be considered specialized knowledge? How do you reconcile? I don't try to reconcile that. I assume that you're going to have to... Now, I've said this before, so I won't bore everyone with the long version of this. But we're talking about a man who started life with a high school education, didn't graduate from college, was trained to fly a high-performance fighter aircraft, survived nearly 300 or more combat missions in Vietnam, left after 20 years of successful time in the service, formed what was at one time the most successful art gallery in Santa Fe, which is one of the toughest art markets in the world, and had to, all along that way, acquire specialized knowledge. And in addition to that, taught himself amateur archaeology, amateur anthropology, and has written at least 13 books on a broad variety of subjects, including his memoirs. That's a man who, over his lifetime, found it necessary to acquire specialized knowledge. So it's crazy to me that he would look at someone, a searcher, in the eye and say, you don't need any specialized knowledge. Oh, there goes my monetization. You don't require specialized knowledge. I don't see how that can possibly mean that you don't need to acquire specialized knowledge. So, I would challenge almost anyone, if all you did was read the poem and read the book and read the poem and read the book and go look for the treasure, the minute you left the map the Google Earth map that you were looking at, you at that point would have to start using a specialized kind of knowledge, whether it was using a GPS system, a compass, or at least being able to follow a route. So I can understand how he says the searcher doesn't require specialized knowledge. I don't know how you do this. As a matter of fact, if anybody can tell me, you can simplify my life if you can explain to me how you do this without acquiring specialized knowledge. Because the minute you're out of the poem and out of the book, you're acquiring specialized knowledge. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh. You're done talking.
Betsy watches AGK at the Benjamin Memorial. Isn't there a sign as you exit that says "Be en paz," meaning "go in peace"? I haven't been there. There is, but I'm not sure. There was some additional construction going on while we were there, the other side of the road from the memorial, that looked like it had some religious undertones. So it might be related to Betsy. It might be related to that. I didn't notice it on this last trip, but I did notice that there were some additional construction going on. I'm scrolling down. How do you know with certainty about what you just said about the 500-foot rule? Because I've measured it.
Clayton.
Clayton. Hey, Clayton. Hi, Clayton. Nice to see you again. Yeah, the Mexican otter. Yeah, my grandmother wouldn't laugh at it either. She'd give me the ojo at that point. Let's see.
Justin Hebro wants to know, is it important to know why Forrest hid his chest where he did, or does that not matter when finding it? Why he hid it there?
I don't know necessarily that it's important to know why he hid it there any more than it's important to understand Fenn's personality as you're analyzing that. Here we go with specialized knowledge again. So I believe that it's important to understand Fenn. If I could understand why he selected where he selected to hide the treasure, that would provide me additional insight into Fenn. If he told me, if I found out for some reason as a result of research that he hid it in a niche in a wall on a land that was populated at one time by Paleolithic Indians, that would, and that's purely assumptive, but that would tell me something else about Forrest Fenn's personality. So I think what the specialized, knowing something about the specialized or the special place, gives you insight into Fenn, not necessarily the treasure or why he hid it there, but into Fenn.
There are a few people who are saying what Must Listen Good is saying, which you just passed. Where warm waters halt is not associated with a dam. Where warm waters halt at the Trout Warm Waters Divide is at El Vado Dam, correct?
No, it is not. It is further south of El Vado Dam, because we're not talking about the warm waters specialty trout waters distinction. We're talking about the warm waters trout waters distinction, which is further south on the dam and requires a better map than is provided in the fishing guide.
And Cindy Guest wants some clarification here.
Did I go too far?
Right here. Cindy Guest. So all that pink area is trout water and not warm waters, and this was confirmed by Steve Clark?
Yes. The pink area is trout water. The white area is warm waters. And that was not only confirmed by Steve Clark, it's confirmed by how it is written inside the state game and fish regulations, which I misinterpreted and which Kinsall helped me through the state game and fish department resolve. And Steve Clark confirmed it.
And we're saying.
By the way, we found out something else interesting about the Cimarron Canyon. Uh, we went through the state park regulations before we went up there, and the state park regulations, although they did say that there was no metal detecting in the parks, they didn't say anything about drones. We couldn't find anything in their rules about drones. So we asked him, and he said, well, if it was a state park and on state park land, you could fly your drone. Here's the problem. It's a state park on property that is owned by the New Mexico Game and Fish Department. So you can't fly drones on that. So that was really interesting in the sense that I thought we always thought that when we went to Cimarron, we were going to a state park, but the rules are different on that state park if the property is owned by the State Game and Fish Department. So make sure you check before you go doing any digging, droning, or metal detecting. Ching! Ka-ching.
Dr. Brown.
Oh, Dr. Brown
Super
with a
chat.
question. Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Toby, slowly but surely you are upgrading my wardrobe. What brand of boots were those? And really, Walmart looked like they were Gore-Tex.
No, well, they are waterproof. They're just the best boots I've ever owned. I've owned literally dozens of pairs. I've been wearing them for as long as I can remember, ever since they started putting them out at Walmart. Those boots had been, not those particular ones, but versions of those boots have been in Iraq, Afghanistan, all over New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, and all over the Northeast, hiking all over the mid-Atlantic. They are, and I'm wearing them right now. I should probably just lift my foot. You can buy them at Walmart. They're $70. I go through a pair about every 6 months because I wear them religiously. They're the best shoes I wear, the most comfortable shoes I wear. I know that sounds crazy. They have a steel-toed boot, a steel toe to protect your foot, and you can get them at Walmart.
No, you waterproof them after you get them, right?
No. They're waterproof when you
okay.
buy them. You can add waterproofing to them, but the seams go all the way. It's double-stitched, wax-stitched, and the tongue separation goes all the way to the top. So they're waterproof up to the top of the boot.
Because he's always walking around in the water in them. It's pretty funny. Do you think I'm having a lot of fun? Which I am.
AGK, still not looking outside New Mexico for warm water salt. Mike, yes, we are still not looking outside of New Mexico. We've got to resolve this first. So we'll probably spend the summer, all our recons from this point forward through the end of the summer will be up in the Chama area disproving this. If we don't have it, then we've got to look at our definition of warm water salt and see if we can spread it from New Mexico to the other 3 search states.
And hello, Mark Gramlich and Jess.
Hey, Jess.
Brian Popelman.
Oh, wow, bunch of new names. AGK, the 07, 08, 010 fishing regs are different than the 17 to 18 regulations.
Near
Elvado. It is highlighted, thus trout waters. I like the idea of fishing regulations, though. Thank you, Brian. I don't know. I'm going to have to look at that. I don't know exactly what that means.
Jan Kerb wants some of your pancakes.
Oh, man, those pancakes were so good. But literally, it was one of those dishes that when they bring it to the table, all the other tables are going like, what the heck was that? Because it was literally a stack of pancakes with, I suppose, bananas and strawberries underneath layered, but they literally covered the whole dang thing in whipping cream. I mean, I had to start by getting a dish just so I could take some of the whipping cream off to get to the pancakes. But man, those were good pancakes. It was really funny because we were leaving the hotel, and Shelley, knows that we go to Michael's to eat breakfast, and I said I rarely order pancakes. For some reason that morning, I wanted to see some pancakes. Man, I got them. I've solved the
Pancakes.
I've solved the pancake thing for another 6 years.
What was your epiphany? We already talked about that.
Amy Smith, you're going to have to go back in the video. I'm not going to bore everybody else with it. The epiphany was my warm water salt the definition that I've been using, warm waters for warm waters halt, the past couple of years was totally incorrect.
Mike M., since we talked a bit about home of brown today, can you go over the significance of the capital B as a refresher? It's baffling me, but I think it's key.
It baffles Mike. Honestly, it baffles everybody. Nobody knows why he did that. It makes it a proper noun, I guess, at that point. So the interpretation could be that the brown represents a person or a thing that requires the upgrade to a proper noun from a noun. But it is no less confusing. What did you say? What was the word that you used? Baffling. It is no less baffling to us than it is to you.
Awkward.
And I would say the majority of the searchers, we don't know. We think it has to do with the color, actually, brown. And well, let me give you my opinion. My opinion is that brown is represented in the poem as a color, and that the reason it's capitalized was Fenn's recognition of the quality and integrity of the relationship he had with Eric Sloane. That's as close as I've gotten to any kind of reasonable interpretation.
Adam Foddy says, so pleased to see Toby back in his old smiley self. I was genuinely gutted for you after seeing your last vid.
You know, Alan, as Shelley
Adam.
often, Shelley often says to me that I get real. I got my highs, but man, when I get my lows, they come down. Now, the advantage is that I've been through enough in my life that a low now is nowhere near having a Vietnamese communist soldier shoot at you rapid fires an AK-47, So you have to put it all in perspective. I apologize for it. I don't want to say it wasn't called for. It was how I was feeling at the moment in time, and I expressed it. And then with Shelley's help and the time that I had this weekend to do other things, I got it all out of my system. So it is rare that you will see me in that state, and if you do, again, I can assure you it doesn't last long.
Illinois Ghost. So you're not going to start completely over with a solve?
Richard, no. I'm going to go back to an old solution because I don't feel like I did it justice. I made that one recon. I got discouraged, and then soon after that, we got busy with other things. So, there were a couple of recons after that up in the Cimarron and up on Oria Verde. But then Shelley and I got busy with building a business, and I never went back. I never went back to that area. And so in a sense, I'm going back to an old solution just to be able to resolve it. I've got to go back. Like I said, we're going back at the end of April just to see if there's any kind of potential there. I haven't been back there. And I don't know a lot of other people that are searching in that area,
Well, Must Listen Good says, I'm pretty sure Desert Files already searched every inch of that area. He puts down Susan B. Anthony's where he searched, so look for those.
Oh, fun. We will. I didn't realize that. So, John Polisek, AGK, do you think maybe Forrest Fenn said he followed the clues to the treasure? He might have been using a little wordplay, like tracing a route on a map with your finger. Yeah, that's the thing. I've got to go back and look at that quote. Shelley found the quote. I've got to go back in it because, everything Forrest says has multiple meanings. It has there's the outer layer. When he says, "Don't go where an 79 or 80-year-old man couldn't go." Well, there's that first layer, and your first reaction is, oh, well, he hit it when he was 79 or 80. Then there's the, wait a minute, that's not what he said. He said this, or there's 3 or 4 layers almost in everything he says. He's very cautious with what he says, and everything has multiple meanings. And I have to go back and actually take a look at that and see what he was telling us, because he wouldn't say it if he wouldn't say. My opinion of Fenn is that he doesn't say anything about this treasure hunt that doesn't tell us something. Now, the something may not have any value at all, but you've got to look at each one of the things that he said and analyze it from multiple perspectives, and we do a lot of that.
John Bobbitt's here. He says going on a recon tomorrow morning.
Yay, John. Tell us where you're going. Write down where you're going. Let's see.
Kevin was here. He said he had to get back to work.
Oh, hey, Kev. Great show, but back to work. Thanks. Jeep Grocer, do you think your new solve is a special place to Forest Fen? Jody, I kind of answered that question before. I don't know, because I don't know what a special place to fen is. I think as I said earlier, it's easy to say that you could find one of Fenn's special places in Yellowstone, but that doesn't mean that all his special places are in Yellowstone or the special place. I don't know. I won't know. None of us will know. I think we're going to have any one of us that finds the treasure. I think we're going to have these several insights, and one of them is going to be, the insight to, oh, that's what the blaze was. And then we're going to find the treasure, and we're going to open up that treasure and look at it and be surprised by its contents. But I think one of the things that's going to happen to us is we're going to, at that point, figure out why that place was special to Forest Fen. Maybe. Because I'm not even sure we'll know then. I'm not even sure, there are places that you could go to on the Rio Grande, on the Pecos, that are special to me. And you could drive to them, you could park near them, and you would have no idea why those places are special to me. And those places are special to me because it's where my father taught me how to fly fish. You wouldn't know that. So I'm not sure. Maybe if Fen is still alive when it's found, it'll have a conversation about that. But if he's passed, I'm not sure if we'll ever find out, even after the treasure is recovered, whether or not we'll know why that place was special to Forest Fen. I'd like to think that we will, but I don't know for certain.
John Bobbitt has a question. I know he was asking this last week as well, and we never did get around to answering it. So you just moved the whole screen, and it's gone now. Up, up, up. Up, up, up. Do you see John Bobbitt?
John Bobbitt.
There it is. No, it's after that one. This one. At what elevation do you think Warm Waters Halt is?
Between 5,000 and 10,200 feet.
Yeah, we don't know other than that.
We've never made the altitude relationship between it, John. We just assume that it's someplace between what Fen told us, 5,000 and 10,200 feet.
And hello to David Ursini and Jamie Rodriguez. Hello again. Illinois Ghost says, I spoke with Forrest on the phone the other day, and he had mentioned Peggy was sick, so we might not get any new info or comments for a while. Well, hopefully it's just a summer cold and something she'll get over quickly.
We hope so. Well, you're way ahead of me. If you're having telephone conversations with Forrest Fen, you're a whole bunch further than me. You can tell us all about that in our panel session.
That's right.
On Wednesday night.
Yes, Illinois Ghost is going to be our special guest. So if you have questions for him, make sure you start saving them up and show up tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock.
AGK, what do you think about Forrest renting a car? Do you think he'd do that in his home state? No. We think if he hid the treasure in another state, it's likely that he would have had to rent a car. But no, we do not think he hid a treasure. I'm sorry, we don't think he rented his. We think he drove. Well, let me say how to say this. If he hid it in New Mexico, there's a 90% probability that he drove his own car.
Mm-hmm.
So, AGK, what do you think about Forrest? Oh, I just answered that. Prayers for Peggy.
Edward Owen asked the question, and your son answered it.
Oh, hey, Jace. Jason Eunice is my son. As you can tell, there are a lot of Eunice. What was the question the information that answered? Okay, so Edward Owen, do me a favor and go back and look for a video on our YouTube channel called Forrest Fen Didn't Hide a Treasure. Just look up 2009, 2010, because we did a story on that. We did a YouTube video on that called Forrest Fen Did Not Hide a Treasure in 2009 or 2010. The hypothesis in that video is they hid it in the 2002, 2003 timeframe, but didn't announce it till 2009, 2010. And we hypothesized that he might have hidden it lander. He sold his plane, his aircraft in 2002. The transaction was completed in 2003. The FAA approved it. He didn't reapply for his medical after that. So whenever he's flown after that, Shiloh has flown him. Shiloh has a pilot's license. So if he did use his plane to hide the treasure, it would have had to have happened before 2003, before early 2003.
And Ramesses 1, why do you think he used the word halt? When waters meet, they merge or mix, or he could have even said where warm waters cool. If it was not fish related, halt is very abrupt.
Well, it is very abrupt. You're right. And the reason is that in order for you to be able to figure out the clues in the poem, you have to have a precise starting point. One of the arguments I make against that whole waters mixing between hot and cool turning into warm is that it doesn't give you a precise starting point. So to me, the halt is an indication that where warm waters do halt is precise on a map. You can find it on a map just like the little girl from India. And the mixture of hot and cool waters doesn't give you that precision.
I like Jason showing up for our show. He answers all these questions and he does a really good job.
Oh, good. Well, he's hung around with me long enough.
Because he gave the same answer you did here.
Oh, okay.
So Mike M. wants to know, do trout fishermen call brown trout browns? Like, let's go fishing for browns today.
I don't know that I've ever used the sentence, let's go fishing for browns, but I have used sentences like, these waters are filled, with brown trout. The browns, no. That's funny. I've always referred to them, and I think my father's always referred to them as brown trout. I've never referred to them in the plural as the browns I've never done that. That's a good question.
So Matt is referring back to a comment we read earlier about Forrest Fenn doesn't like you. He says, sorry, I typed a short message. I meant you could have been so close in 2013, and now we know why he doesn't talk to you. Since you were so close, he may slip. Toby, retrace your steps.
Yeah, I'd like to have been the one, but I'm never sure about that. Let's see, Edward. Jason Eunice, you're doing so good at answering these questions. Thank you. We're going to have to make you can I make him I'm going to make you a moderator, Jace, just because I like you. Let's see.
Add moderator.
Yeah, Jason, you are now officially a moderator.
You get a little tool next to your name.
If you're going to be that helpful, we're going to make you a moderator.
Yeah.
Start throwing people out. No, don't throw people out unless they're rude. Let's see. Dr. Brown, hi, Belva. AGK, sorry to type. Okay, short message. So I'm going to scroll down here. I think we're getting close to the end, huh?
No.
No?
No.
AGK, Road 212, boiling water. Somebody earlier said that as well, Mary. AGK, Kinsall lying about sending warm water salt information. He doesn't have the little touch of madness. No, I think he's telling the truth. I think he was the one. I wish I could remember his email name.
Jen Kerb, if you could find us some sponsors, we'd be happy to do a true TV channel TV show. Thank you.
What question are you answering there?
Oh, it's just this one.
Oh, maybe you guys could do well by turning this into a weekly reality TV show on True TV channel. You know what? We are really working hard at staying retired.
Hey, if there's enough money in it.
Dr. Brown, you have to get those boots. Just try them out. Just try out one. It's only $70, but try them out once. And if you don't like them, I will, depending on the size shoe you wear, I will buy them from you because I just love them.
Dick Stone. Forrest has said that more than a few people have gotten the first two clues right. Do you believe they came to that same conclusion as you for where warm waters halt?
There's no way of knowing. There's so many, my only position on the matter is that warm waters halt has to be precise. So, geographically precise. So it is possible. Because when you look at the map of New Mexico, when you look at this all started because back in 2013, before I drugged Jason through the Rio Chama, I did a Google search on warm waters. Literally, I did a Google search, and what pops up is the state game and fish regulations. So I looked at the map. And I saw, I did the same analysis that I did for you guys today. There are 5 locations where warm waters go to trout waters, but they're all upriver. There's only one that goes downriver, and that was the one there on the Rio Chama.
Roadrunners says, Toby, I believe the boots you are wearing are Herman Survivor Breakers.
You know what? I'm going to say Herman Survivors. I don't know if they're breakers because I think on a trip that we were taking, Shelly and I were taking someplace. Where were we going? I realized I had forgotten my boots. I stopped at a Walmart. I stopped at a Walmart.
Somewhere in New Mexico.
In
Because we were
Gallup, wasn't it? Why were we going west?
Scottsdale?
Oh, it was a
Sometime
yeah.
we
We were doing that shoot. The lady with the
Yeah.
pins. Yeah, the pellets. That's a long story.
Testosterone.
So we were headed west. I had forgotten my boots. Couldn't be without them. And we stopped at a Walmart, and I got what I thought was the right kind of boots because the box looks the same. And I thought, oh, they're only $49 here. You know, I thought and they were the wrong boots. And I think they were the breakers, but I don't know. Just these are the ones that I swear by. So make sure you get those. I don't know their name. It's been so long now that I just go in, look for the $69 pair, buy those, and walk out of the store.
Jeremy Milstead, have you considered shortening the 6 questions to Forrest to maybe 1 or 2? Maybe he would answer. Just a suggestion.
The ones that we sent him,
Yeah.
Jeremy, I have a feeling
Well, you know,
that if I could reduce it to 1 and he wouldn't answer.
that's okay.
So he's not, I don't feel too bad because I know he's not answering a lot of emails right now. Well, that's what I mean. I wish I was Illinois Ghost. At least they're talking on the phone. I don't think Forrest would even pick up the phone for me.
In your picture, from Wayne Cook, in your picture, does the Rio Chama flow downstream back into trout waters?
It flows downstream from warm waters to trout waters, yes. Now, the problem with all the pictures that I have is that they're not detailed enough to tell me precisely where the demarcation point is. So that's the next thing I have to do, and that means a trip to Santa Fe on Wednesday.
Lori James, any lignites in the Chama area?
Not to the best of my knowledge, but I wasn't looking for them then because the resolution to the home of Brown is much more obvious on the Rio Chama than any place else.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And Roadrunners, I don't want to disagree with you that they're survivor breakers. I know they're Herman survivors. I don't know if they're the breakers. They could very well be, but buy them. Best boots ever.
Brian Popelman thinks that the fishing regulations from 2018 are different from the ones in 2010. Check the map. Or Heron Lake and El Vado Lake are clearly highlighted.
Where's that?
This Brian Popelman.
I'm trying to say that the fishing regulations in 2008 and 2010, check it out before you go much further. El Vado Lake are clearly highlighted. Okay, I will. Brian, thank you.
Mr. G, is there still snow high up in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains east of Santa Fe?
There was when we drove up, but they had a couple of really warm days. And it was like we found in the Cimarron. If you look at our Cimarron photos, it was sparse. So, I mean, and the days were so warm, there's probably nothing left by now. I'd be surprised. Yeah, there wasn't much when we were there. The roads were clear. The roads were open.
Tom Gregory, Toby, which is a larger range, San Juan Mountains or Sangre de Cristo?
I believe the San Juans are by just a little bit, but they're both part of the Rockies. Oh, by the way, I wanted to mention to you guys that I've actually set aside a day. When I go to Washington, there's a couple of places I always go visit. One is the Corcoran School of Art because that's where I graduated. It's now it's part of the George Washington University system. And the other I always go visit is the museum, and because it brings back a lot of my memories. But on that day, since the museum is very close to where the Capitol building is, and the Supreme Court and the Library of Congress, I'm going to take some time to go to the Library of Congress while I'm out east and see if I can find Fenn's, the memoir that Fenn claims he sent to the Library of Congress. Now, I've heard several people have told us in various chats that they looked and they couldn't find it. But I think when I'm boots on the ground, Jesus, I'm going to be boots on the ground in Washington, D.C., I'm going to see if I can find it.
Jamie Rodriguez, Toby can't grow a full beard. He has too much Native American blood.
Who said that?
He thinks she'd look like Jeff Bridges.
Toby, if you grew a beard, I can't grow a beard. I grow a sparse beard at best, and it just makes me look older and crabbier. I look like an angry old man when I grow.
Justin Hebero wants to know, if you had to bet an amount of money important to you, would you bet the treasure is found in the next 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, or more than 100 years from now?
Make a bet, huh? You know, that's a good question. Let me tell you what. I will say I would make that bet that it's in 10 years if Fenn lives that long. I think if Fenn passes, when Fenn passes, the dynamics of this are all going to change. And I think the result of his passing is going to be the losing of interest in the search. And what the search requires, the finding of the treasure requires man hours, right? It requires people, boots on the ground, looking for the treasure. Once that interest is lost, I think there's going to be less man hours spent in the treasure. But if he's alive in 10 years, I would say there's a 70% probability that it's found in the next 10 years, and that's greater than 50%, so I probably make the bet. Ching!
Stava Olchevsky, Home of Brown can't be used.
Is that his second one?
Yes. Home of Brown can't be used to name a den of beavers family. In my honest opinion, the capital B refers to the beavers as a species. Thus, Home of Brown would mean beaver's habitat. Habitat is translated as home. You know, we discounted the beavers as well, but when the ranger came riding up to us, and he was so excited about it, and he said, I know who the Brown are. I know Home of Brown.
Yeah.
We are dealing with them all the time. They're flooding our roads. And we're like, oh, and he's like, yeah, it's the beavers, obviously.
No, and what was really fun is he said the North American brown beaver, like
brown beaver.
Like
yeah.
he wanted to find beavers and skin them, you know.
Yeah, and that's when I said, well, but how long does a beaver's den last? And he said, there's one out there that I think was there before the dawn of time. So
yeah, he was really excited.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned in the past that whenever we talk with someone, I ask them questions like, what do you think of when I say the Home of Brown? And he didn't, you know, he goes, oh, that's when he said, oh, you guys are searching for that treasure. It wasn't until after we were there, what, half hour, 45 minutes?
probably.
That he drove off. We drove as far as the parking lot, and he came back with a whole brown beaver story.
Yeah.
So, and then of course it matched with.
And then he talked about all the different areas up there that had those dams, and he was excited.
Dad always called them brown trout or German browns, right? I always pictured fish with World War I spiked helmets, and worried about pulling it out of the picos. Thank you, Jason.
A couple of people say they do call them browns.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever said that. Let's see.
So Rick Plank says, when Forrest Fenn was at Moby Dickens, he answered an email question about renting a car that makes me think he flew his airplane to the place where he buried the treasure.
Actually, Rick, if you look at that video that we made on the subject of Fenn not hiding the treasure in 2009 or 2010, we used what you just said as one of the citations for that.
Omar the Skywatcher. Enjoy you both very much. Just a thought. If Warm Waters is in reference to New Mexico fishing regulations and Santa Fe sits at the upper third part of the state, shouldn't most warm water be south of Santa Fe?
Yes, but if you look at that map, where's my book? Okay, hang on. How did it get away from me? Where's my fishing book?
I don't know.
Oh, it fell off over here. Okay, Omar and everybody else. So Here's the fishing guide, and here's the book that I'm referring to. And I'm not sure if you guys can see actually the pink. The pink waters that look utter like are trout waters. You can see the legend down here at the bottom. Those pink waters are trout waters. All of this, except for this area here and this area here, are warm waters. So all the white areas are warm waters. That's Santa Fe right there. So if the treasure is north of Santa Fe, it's in this area up here. Now, coincidentally, this area pretty much matches with the tail end of the Rocky Mountains. So there's some additional kind of coordination there. The one that we're citing in this set of regulations is this area right here, which is a big warm water space before it goes into the trout waters. And I explained, you may have missed the first part of today's programming, but I talked about that and explained it. You'll have to go back and watch it because I explained all of that and ate some humble pie in the process. Udders. Looks like udders.
Somebody want a cowbell.
Oh, you don't have a cowbell? That is not a cowbell.
It's a cow and a bell.
Oh, cowbell. Okay. So, Jake, AGK, do you think Fenn will give out a huge hint on his deathbed if not found by then? I don't, Jake. I think more than anything, he wants it to go to live on in its own right without affecting his family and without affecting the people around him. I think two people can keep a secret if one of them is dead, and I think when he dies, the secret goes with him.
Roadrunners wants to know when and where can we see some footage from your new drone. I'm debating on whether to purchase a Mavic Air or Pro.
Ooh. Okay, so if you're going to buy a Pro, wait another month because they're coming out a new version of the Pro. But the Pro I've seen on sale for $799, which is the same price as the new Mavic Air. So I can tell you from my own experience, if your objective is a small package, you know, the not carrying around, because if you've owned Phantoms, you know how big that equipment is. But you can look at some stability footage on videotero.tv. Plus, we'll be putting the new footage up there from our metal detecting class. I've got a new stability, 30-second stability off of I-40 in 20-knot winds. But the footage, the 4K footage, is as good. And I own Lumix G7s, which shoots probably the best 4K of any camera I've ever owned. The 4K footage off of this drone is as good as anything I've ever shot, honestly. It's really, really good. It's 100 megabits, and it's just amazing footage. I would highly recommend it. But there's some pricing weirdness going on with DJI right now. I'm willing to bet the new Mavic Pro 2 is probably coming out because the Mavic Pro price just dropped to $799, which is the same price as the new Mavic Air.
More cowbell.
More cowbell.
Okay. Here.
You have got to get one of those clangy cowbells.
I will find one. Jason Dent.
Jason Dent, I watched your video earlier.
Here.
Oh, okay.
There's a book from the early 1900s titled The Brown Storytellers. It is about the life in the Pueblo as told by Tiwa Indians. Coach loves your drone videos.
Thanks, Coach. I like it. I like doing them. Let's see. Are you using Record New Mexico and trying? Yes.
That's from Hank Greenberg.
Yeah, Hank. How far is too far to walk where your warm waters halt? I've got to. It's in my notes from 2013, Hank. I don't have it. Like I said, I've got to go back over all of that information to kind of recapture all of that. It's all in my research from that period, but I've basically had 5 years to forget all of that, obviously. So I'll have to go back and look at that.
So your answer is
Yes!
Yes!
Are we at the bottom?
I think we are.
Oof, that was 2 hours.
Oh, okay. All right. We are at the bottom. So let me make a transition here over to, let me see. I want to go here.
No. What happened?
What?
I don't know. Here we go.
No, oh, it closed down.
No, it's fine. It was
Okay.
just big.
All right. So, okay, you're on.
I'm on. Hello. 7 p.m. MDT, Wednesday, April 4th, panel, Where Warm Waters Halt. So, all of you were very interested in Where Warm Waters Halt today. Join us again and talk to even more people who are also interested in about where warm waters halt. And that will be our panel tomorrow evening. And our guest will be Illinois Ghost.
Richard McDonald.
And our moderator is Toby. Producer is me. And our other panel members are Pam Shopman, Ramblin' Pam, and Cal Lazars, that's Mike Cowlings.
And Sean Dodson.
And Sean Dotson from Sean NM on the flip side.
And the flip side. And Cynthia won't be joining us because she's still traveling back from the north, from
But
Montana.
she did send Toby an email to cheer him up when he put out that
She
video
did.
the other
Bless her
night.
heart. It was the best. She saw the video, and the first thing her reaction
She's
to
like,
it was,
let's have coffee.
we need to talk. So that was really nice of her.
Yeah. Then Thursday, April 5th, Forrest Fenn Book Club, The Thrill of the Chase, Chapter 8, Surviving Myself. And that will be at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow night's at 7 o'clock tomorrow night.
Mountain Daylight Time.
Mountain Daylight Time, Thursdays at 1 o'clock. And Surviving Myself, how long of a chapter is that one? Just a shorty?
No, it's a little bit longer. It's multiple pages.
Okay, so we'll get into that on Thursday. Please like, share, and subscribe. And here's where all the things are. Give us a thumbs up. That always cheers us up. And Toby gets sad when we have too many thumbs down. So share the video with your social networks and subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications.
Okay.
And that's it for today.
I think we can say our goodbyes.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us for 2 whole hours.
That was a long time. Thanks
Yeah.
for joining us. We hope you found it entertaining and informative. Thanks to our moderators, Joel Lewicki, Jimmy Fast, Man in the Barn, Brian Eagle, and my son, Jason
Yay!
Eunice, who was just appointed on the fly. I'm glad he was here, and I'm glad he could help us because
That's right.
He's been through this with me, so he's got a lot of these answers as well.
And thank you all so much for your super chat and for your wonderful questions and comments today.
And thank you for your positive support and reinforcement over the past couple of days. I want you to know that although I was down and out, a lot of what you guys said in the comments after that video just kind of brought it back and made me realize how much fun we're having, how much fun this whole process is, and really there aren't any great challenges that we can't overcome. So we look forward to producing a...
It's supposed to be like, aw.
producing more and quality content for you, and continuing to have a good time and sharing our information. So who knows, by this time, not this summer, but next summer, we could even be out of New Mexico. Ooh. Based on what we do, what comes up for us.
So thanks for helping Toby to bounce back. And we'll see you again tomorrow evening. Thank you so much for being with us today. For A Gypsy's Kiss the Blog, I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you tomorrow night. And here's a new outro for you.